The freak athlete Nordic Hyper GHD claims to be 6 machines in one. A Nordic Bench, a back extension, a GHD, reverse hyper, hip thrust, and sit-up bench. If it delivers on all these promises, then it's the machine of the century. But does it? As you probably know, if you try to do a bunch of things all at once, it's really hard to do any of them well. So let's test all of the different things that Freak Athlete claims that this machine can do and see if it actually delivers. Freak Athlete did provide this machine for review, but as you know, that doesn't mean I'm gonna go easy on them in the review. The first thing that it claims to be is a Nordic Bench. And as you might imagine, since it's in the name, it does this function quite well. And in fact, it does it better than any other Nordic Bench that I have used. I know you can see the Tib Bar guy, Nordic Pro, in the background. It's not fair to compare this machine to that one though, because this is a completely different machine in a completely different price category. So that's not a knock on that machine. But one thing that's really cool about the Freak Athlete is you have assistance levels starting at 45 degrees for those of you who maybe have never done Nordic hamstring curls before, and it adjusts all the way down to flat in 5-degree increments, so lots of levels for progression. And for you true freak athletes out there, you can even go decline to make it even harder, which I cannot. The next thing it promises to be is a back extension machine. And it also does an exceptional job at this function as well. In fact, I actually had a commercial 45-degree back extension that I got rid of because this took its place. The next thing it promises to be is a GHD. And this is the first area where it doesn't execute flawlessly. It does an okay job. I couldn't think of another way to do this better than they have already executed it, but it does a pretty good job. Is it a dedicated GHD? No. Does it do the job? Yes. Do I enjoy using it as a GHD? Yes. Next thing it promises to be is a hip thrust bench. And this is one of the areas where I was a little bit skeptical of, because just by looking at this, I honestly in no way thought this was going to be stable, and I did not think I would ever use this for hip thrusts, but it works surprisingly well. And it's a lot more stable than I thought it was going to be. And another thing is it really showed how high quality these pads are, because I was wondering if it was going to be digging into my back, and it actually did not. I've only used 315 pounds on there so far, so if you approach higher and higher weights, maybe, but I'm not so sure. I was genuinely impressed by the hip thrust functionality on here. Next, they claim it's a sit-up bench. Is this as good as a dedicated decline sit-up bench? No, but you probably also aren't gonna waste the space or money to have a dedicated decline sit-up bench in your home gym. So this gives you a functionality that you would not otherwise have in your home gym. And I have found myself using this for decline sit-ups and for decline leg raises using the handles up here quite a bit at the end of my workouts. The last of the functions that they claim, the reverse hyper, is the one area where this machine just straight up doesn't deliver, in my opinion. For me, I am 6 foot flat, and you can see if I try to do reverse hypers, it's just not gonna happen. You cannot get even close to a full range of motion with reverse hypers if you are of any considerable height whatsoever. You can successfully achieve a slightly modified reverse hyper by declining the foot end of the bench by 1 notch, getting your butt and your legs pointed up in the air, which will allow most people to achieve a full range of motion if you're anywhere around the 6 foot or slightly over 6 foot mark, but it's not really a true reverse hyper. So in my opinion, I would call this a 5-in-1 machine. I will give props to Freak Athlete. This is a truly versatile piece of equipment. And I've done several exercises on here that are not listed on the sales page. I've done leg raises, dead hang curls, preacher curls, and split squats. The one caveat to split squats is using this foot pad is not quite as good as using a dedicated leg roller due to the fact that it's fixed and doesn't roll with your leg, but it still does do the job quite well and is certainly a lot more pleasant of an experience versus putting your back foot up on a flat bench. And you're probably wondering how easy it is to adjust this thing, because admittedly this thing does look pretty complex. And the good news is it's really not that bad. It adjusts pretty quickly, and rather than throw B-roll up on the screen, I actually want to do it in real time so you can truly see how easy it is. And if we were to make some changes from one extreme to the other, so if we were to raise it up to flat, all you do is loosen this pull pin, you pop it out, raise it up to flat, and let's say that we're going to go from GHDs to a back extension, something that's going to require quite a bit of adjustment. It's actually pretty simple. All you have to do is take the pad off. Takes only a couple seconds. There's a little knob under here that will loosen the knee platform. You just unscrew that, pull it out. And by the way, it's a pretty nifty feature that when you're not using the sit-up pad, you can just Velcro it to the bottom of this pad. So sit this off to the side. So pretty quick and pretty easy so far. And then we have this knob here that allows this part to slide back and forth. Loosen that up, pop it out, boom. Well, I'll keep it at about 3. So you tighten that back down. And then we will adjust this part to change the angle of the foot platform. We'll actually lower that all the way down. And then, let's say we want to make it a 40-degree back extension instead of a 45-degree. Bring this down, and then we'll tighten that knob back down. Now, as you can see, that is pretty quick. That was with me actually explaining everything as I went. If you were to make this adjustment just to do the exercises yourself, it would only take a good 15 seconds to make that full adjustment. So if you're heavily utilizing this machine and you're making frequent adjustments within the same workout, it's not really gonna cost you a lot of time to do so. There's also a few other features that I wanna make sure that I mention, even though I've not personally been using them. There are weight sleeves on the front of the machine, and there's a longer weight sleeve on the back of the machine so that you can weigh the machine down for added stability if you're a heavier individual or you're doing really explosive movements. I personally have not used them a single time and have not felt the need to use them a single time because the machine feels very stable as is. And speaking of the weight sleeve on the back, it's pretty clever because they incorporated that into the storage aspect of this machine. So if you fold this down to where it's flat, you can actually store it vertically, and it sits on the weight sleeve. So you don't have to take the weight sleeve off the back of the machine. And another really cool thing that I just noticed when doing this review, because honestly, I've not stored this thing upright. It's kind of earned a permanent spot in the gym and I never put it away. But if you store this vertically, it actually says Freak Athlete across the bottom of it. That is a really cool touch that you got to witness at the same time I did. If you are storing this away vertically, it's gonna take up very little footprint against the wall. It is just under 2 feet tall. It's about 22 inches tall, and it is just under 2 feet wide. It's about 23 inches wide. So it does not take up much space at all when it's stored away. And then if we look at the full length, as it sits on the floor, it is just over 52 inches long. But of course, keep in mind, you will need a little bit more clearance than that because most of the exercises you're doing, you're gonna be hanging off the front of the machine. Of course, as great as this machine is, we do have to talk about the price. At full retail price, this is $999, which is a little bit on the steep side, but you are getting a lot of versatility out of this machine. And to be honest, several of the machines that this thing replaces cost nearly $1,000 or more than $1,000 by themselves. So when you look at it that way, not a terrible price tag. And this thing does go on sale on a semi-frequent basis. And in fact, it's on sale at the time of recording this video. Between the sale and if you use code TREAD50 at checkout, you can snag this machine at $650. Normally in my reviews, I like to have a dramatic final verdict at the end of the video, but in this case, you can probably already tell how much I've been enjoying this machine and that I would definitely recommend this machine. But I'm about to say something that, to the best of my memory, I've never said since I've started reviewing equipment back in 2020. I've actually changed several of the exercises in my workout so that I could use it more often because I have enjoyed using this machine that much. If you're still on the fence about getting the Nordic Hyper GHD, jump over the fence. Go get it. You're gonna love this piece of equipment. As always, God bless you and your family, and we'll see you next week. That is the biggest adjustment that you're gonna ever make with this machine. It's from one extreme all the way to the other, and only took a few seconds. Freaking just ripped my shorts, dog. Man, I felt it rip when I squatted down. I felt my pants just give up on me. They went, eh. Well, that's gonna make the blooper reel.